Welcome back to the kitchen table. What we're cooking today is how to create a proper thesis statement, more specifically when answering the AP World History exam prompt, because there's a lot of things that go into making a thesis, and if your thesis doesn't cover just about everything that you plan on covering in the essay, it's not going to end up being that good, and that can actually get you marked down when the graders are actually reading your essay. So I'm Johan, and I'm here with Rogelio, and we're just going to see if you can give me a rundown of how to make a proper thesis statement for the AP World History exam.
Okay, so for a good thesis, what you need to do is you need to answer the prompt. The focus of your essay is to answer the prompt, and the thesis is basically an outline for your entire essay. In addition, you also have to make sure that you're making you're historically correct, and you're making something that is historically defensible, and you have to establish a line of reasoning and also establish a side on the argument. You have to make sure you're on a side of the argument and not just arguing blankly into nothing in your essay.
Excuse me. So basically, you're saying you got to have like a straight, fair point, and it's got to be able to, you have to be able to defend that point to make sure it's not just kind of just something you're saying to get it over with.
Yeah, you have to say something that you believe and you can defend.
Okay. So I just want to know, do you know how it happens to be scored, by the College Board?
The entire thing is 1 point. What you really need is to make sure that your essay and your thesis is historically defensible. Like I said, this means it has accurate terms in terms of history, and these things are usually, since you're doing a DBQ, these usually can be pulled out of the DBQ itself from the documents, and also you have to establish a line of reasoning.
Okay, so when you say the whole thing is 1 point, you mean the entire essay or just the thesis?
The thesis.
Oh, okay. So in order to have a good thesis, you need a historically defensible claim with information that you can pull out of the DBQ that you're being questioned about, and you need a good line of reasoning in order to assume or to get the full story behind it, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So you have a couple examples that you want to show us, with a prompt and the proper thesis?
Here's one with the prompt. The prompt is, describe one way in which Hakusaki's argument was influenced by long-standing Asian cultural traditions. Hakusaki's argument that sovereign is heaven to the subject and the father is heaven to the child was influenced by Confucian beliefs.
Okay, so the prompt is basically asking in which way her argument was influenced by Asian culture. And then she starts off with kind of incorporating the prompt by saying Hakusaki's argument. That way you kind of get the idea of what she's actually answering, and then you go into the actual kind of detailed part where she mentions exactly what is talking to, or what she's talking about, and what she plans on continuing with the essay with, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The next prompt is, explain one way in which the religions encounter referred to in the passage differed from most other religious encounters in the period circa 1450 to 1750.
And the response thesis to that is, one important difference between the circumstances of the religious encounter in 18th century Japan and other religious encounters in the period 1450 to 1750 is that religious interactions in this period more frequently led to the development of syncretic belief systems such as voodoo or Santeria than the outright banning of the preaching of a religion. And as you can see, shown by these responses that Rogelio showed us, is both of these thesis statements would actually get the point because they actually respond to the prompt and show the main points that they'll be talking about in their essay. Obviously, one is slightly longer than the other, but in reality, if the shorter you can keep it to, as long as you're covering every single point, it would still get the actual point for the thesis statement.
Yeah,
right?
you can be concise in your thesis statement.
Oh, okay. So, do you have any examples of any thesis statements that won't earn the point?
Yeah, here in the next prompt, evaluate the extent to which the experience of the First World War changed relationships between Europeans and the colonized people. And the response to that was, The First World War changed the relationships between Europeans and the colonized people in many ways. This is not gonna get the point because it really just restates the question, the prompt, I mean, and there's no contextualization. They don't have any hinting towards what they're going to talk about in their essay. They don't have a line of reasoning. They're not really claiming anything. They don't have anything to defend. They're not really taking a side of the argument. Besides that, it changed them.
Okay, so again, if you can read it here, evaluate the extent to which experience in the First World War changed relationships between Europeans and colonized people, and then you read the response, you have virtually the exact same sentence. And as he said, no defense, no evidence, or nothing there. So that's obviously not the best way to write a thesis statement. You would want to do one of the other two. Again, you can keep it concise and it would still get the point. As long as you get the main idea and some evidence to prove it, then you're good. So I can see here you have a step-by-step on exactly how to make a thesis or a proper thesis statement. You want to go through that?
Yeah. Here we go with the step-by-step. The first thing you want to do is you'll want to read the documents provided, obviously, because if you don't read the documents, you're not really going to have much to talk about. The second step is after that, you're going to take all the information you have and really think about what was important in that. And then the third step is once you pick your position after reading the prompt, decide what specific examples you're going to use to support your claim. These should come directly from the documents because if you pick out evidence that you use from your memory, it's most likely going to be wrong in some way, but even if you do, it might be kind of irrelevant. So you might want to use evidence from the documents. Step 4 is write an official thesis for your DBQ essay. Step 5, now that you've written your official thesis, follow up with a mental or written checklist. Step 6, ask yourself questions as, did I answer the prompt? Does it have a purpose? Or did I explain myself enough? The next step would be, if you answered yes to these questions, you have now created a 1-point worthy thesis. Step 9 would be, if you don't have all these, if you said no to any of these, then you're going to want to go back and revise your thesis and make some changes.
So that's what's cooking up on the kitchen table. Now you have all the steps and information you need to be able to cook up a proper thesis statement for AP World History exam. And just remember to follow all the steps. And, have a good day.